Well, good morning. The river gauge this morning was 8.33. Yesterday, I think it was 8 when we were out. It was 8.1. So it's sunny right now. So hopefully that continues, and I should be out today. But in case you're wondering, I have more than one of these shirts, so I'm not wearing the same shirt every day. I don't remember how many. I think I have 3 or 4 this color, and I think I have 3 or 4 of the white ones. Some other colors. I tend to like this one and the white one the most. I think that's what I wear the most. But in case you're wondering. I'm not wearing the same shirt every day. Yeah, when I started getting that skin cancer in my forearms, I had to start. The skin doctor told me to start wearing these. My problem is I keep pulling. I pull the sleeves up, so I don't know if that doesn't do any good. She tells me to get those. I think they make they call it a sleeve too. But then I'd be pulling that up. Yeah, what are you gonna do? But well, as you know, I'd never use notes. Maybe that's why I only have like two views on most of my videos. But I figure it's supposedly putting thoughts together and speaking is supposed to be good for the brain. It's kind of like walking or jogging for the heart. It gets the blood. Also reading. They say reading after people have strokes, they tell them to read because it's like jogging for the brain. It gets the synapses and all the stuff firing, I guess. But anyhow, I do the best I can here. But often I read through the many quotes of Blaise Pascal. He's one of my favorite ones to read quotes of. He was a French mathematician, physicist, philosopher from the 1600s. He had many. He was an inventor. The Pascaline, I think, in math. I forget what it did, but he had several famous. Pascal's Wager. I've read that before, but I'm going to read one. But before I do that, I was thinking about our existence here in the short lifespan that we have, and I was trying to have an analogy of time. I think a bag of, I can't remember if it's a 5-pound bag or a 10-pound bag of sugar, there's approximately 1 million grains. And then I was thinking that wouldn't be enough. You'd have to go to like the sand, all of the sand on the whole planet. And you still wouldn't equal what eternity is. And then I was trying to calculate how many grains of sand would represent our time here on Earth. I didn't come up with a number, but it's probably less than 1 grain. If you compare that to our time spent in eternity. And yet, all most people think about is the here and now. and the moment. You know, you often hear people talk about living in the moment, living for the moment. Well, the moment's gone. A lot of time we actually do more thinking about the past and about what we're going to do for the day. We spend little. We don't have much. I mean, the moment's passed like this. So to do much thinking in the moment is probably an impossible task, or pretty near. And you think of the logic of that. If you're you know, your whole focus is on that less than 1 grain of sand, and the rest is, you know, uncountable amounts of sand granules of eternity. You scratch your head and you think, that's not a pretty that's not a very good logic there. And I'm going to read a quote here, and he's talking about atheists on their thinking process, on how they can take one thing that's a miracle and disregard it when they're thinking about something else. Let me read the quote. Atheists, what grounds have they for saying that no one can rise from the dead? Which is harder, to be born or to rise again? That was what has never been should be, or that what has been should be once more. Is it harder to come into existence than to come back? Habit makes us find the one easier, while lack of habit makes us find the other impossible. Blaise Pascal. Ponder that. What is harder, to be born or to rise from the dead? Well, for one thing, we had no say in the matter. We had no the processes of both are out of our control. I mean, I watched both of my children be born, and we all know how a baby gets in the womb, that process. But the miracle of, they say at conception there's a light that flashes, and I can't help but think that that's, you know, that light, you know, it says light is or like when you put a seed in the ground, how does it know to go to the light? The roots go to the soil, but the light, the leaves and the life have to get to the light to have life. Yeah, so we ask ourselves, okay, and we know before anything existed was God, the Trinity, and there's a reference, I believe, in the New Testament, I can't remember where, but Jesus, I think, is contemplating going, you know, before he's going to the cross, he's talking to the Father, and he's saying, you loved me before the foundation. In other words, they were there, the Trinity. So love is obviously what we should be about. Obviously, the new covenant. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, with all your strength. And number 2, love thy neighbor as thyself. So in our moments of this less than one grain of sand time, if you had that, actually it would have to be an infinite hourglass for eternity. There wouldn't be any. But our time here, I always kid people, the reason time goes fast as you get older is you're in the bottom of that hourglass and you're spinning, ready to shoot out. So it's pretty obvious that God wants us to be about love. Loving Him in our relationship with that, just like you would love your wife. There's a relationship there, and loving others. And then I was thinking about how math and language. And that's why I guess it fascinates me when people can do both well. Mathematicians such as Blaise Pascal. Another one that comes to mind is what is his name? He's British, Christian, and he speaks. Oh my gosh, he can just spew out truth. It's unbelievable. I can't remember his name. Anyhow, where was I? Math and language. You take, for instance, the Fibonacci sequence. That's where each number is the sum of the 2 preceding ones, and it's all around in nature. A pineapple, if you count the spirals going one way and count the other spirals going the other way. Pine cone, same thing. Sunflower petals, galaxies, and then you get into the what do they call it, the golden ratio. It's all mathematical. It's all math. In other words, we can't. A lot of times people will say you can't see God. Well, we can see His tracks. It's like you can't see wind, but you can see the movement in the leaves. But the math part of it is always intrigued me in the moments, each moment that I'm thinking about such things. But then you think of the language. This is the one that I just can't see how atheists can overlook that. The language part, well, both. There's mind behind math, and there's mind behind language. In other words, math didn't create itself, and we didn't create the sequences in the Fibonacci sequence in nature. We didn't do that. We study math, and we can observe math, and we can stumble upon those Fibonacci sequences in nature, but math didn't put them there. The math is what understands it. It's kind of like the ears understand words. I'm going to stop there. I hope my brain articulated enough to at least get 2 views. But like I say, I don't do it for the views. I do it for the mental exercise of putting thoughts together and talking. And I guess talking to a camera isn't too far from talking to myself. I could just do it in the kayak, but Keith would probably wonder what's going on. Oh, there he's talking to himself again. Yeah, I had an event. I won't go into it, but this last Thanksgiving that I think I need to exercise the brain and so I don't end up being too much of a burden as if it goes. But anyhow, that's my reason for doing it. So, and maybe somebody hears it and finds it useful. Alrighty, you all have a good one. Take care and God bless.